but one person spoke out, and then another person possibly had confidence to back him up and say, yes, they were there, this thing or that thing happened. So we are at different wavelengths in believing what has happened. So I don't know why the government is putting out this narrative that it was, or the NCF rather, is putting out this narrative that it was an overwhelming success when a lot of people are saying no. So perhaps they need to go back to the drawing board and what they were doing before that work to do it. Because if something is not wrong with the wheel, why replace it?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me hear Mr. Nigel Newton. He's been waiting a long time. Good night, Nigel.
Good night, Marcia. Good night to your panel.
Can you hear him?
Very low.
Very low. Okay. So can you speak up a little bit more, Nigel?
Well, I'm doing my best.
Okay, what you can do is to turn off the other. It's better now, but completely turn off your device that you're listening to me on.
Oh, sorry, that was my mistake. Sorry. Yeah. Good night. I have a number of questions, but I will give you two of them. Ask two of them now.
Thank you.
Okay. CROPOVER is our main form of cultural expression. Okay? Do you think our cultural expression has a role to play in nation building? One. And two, how can our culture assist us in the development of the parliamentary republic of Barbados?
Can you repeat the last question? Assist us in what?
Okay.
In the Parliamentary Republic of Barbados.
Oh, the Parliamentary Republic. I didn't hear the word Republic of Barbados. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your questions, Nigel. And let me just hear the panelists respond to that. Who wants to take that on?
I can say something, right? He made reference to culture being how we can see it in our parliamentary democracy or whatever it is. Parliamentary republic. To me, culture begins at home. And if you have a strong family unit, it embraces your entire family and it showcases who you are. And I don't see what we have in Parliament representing the people of Barbados. And I have to be honest about that. In no form or fashion, what have they been doing to develop? For example, if the country was a family, what have they been doing to develop their family? I don't see it. And when it comes in terms of the future, I think that if our culture is to perpetrate, to go any further, and by culture, I don't mean walking up, because to me, that is not culture. I think that we have to raise the level of consciousness of the people that we have in the House of Assembly to first see us as Africans, and Africans who have been victimized, and to raise the consciousness of the people, and everything else will fall into place. So that is my first premise.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Ferdy.
You know, I don't recall. Caswell, help me with his name. A former Minister of Health, under the I think he would have been under the Arabara government, that appeared in Parliament in a shirt jack suit for the very first time. It caused a Branford Tate, who tried to trend away from the whole mentality of suits, you know, being very colonial and so forth, trend toward something that was a little more national, representative of more Caribbean and that type of thing. When I hear Nigel speaking about the cultural expression having a role in nation building, first thing we have to define is what is culture. And sorry, the banner is hiding the name of my sister here on the screen. So I
Heather?
don't. Heather, thank you. What you said is so correct. What is the definition of culture? And when I look up the definition, it speaks about the customs, the arts, the social institutions, the achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So that we should be celebrating what we have accomplished as a people over the past 50, 55, 60 years. We have been independent since 1966. We have achieved a lot as an independent country. When are we celebrating that? When are we using that to establish and build the whole aspect of people's interests into, you talk about parliamentary, building what? Parliamentary um,
Public.
res, res, responsibility and interests. You talk with the average young person, they don't have no interest in politics at all. They're not interested in anything to do with that. And a lot of that has to do with what happens from the time we're coming up through our family upbringing. I grew up in a home, and Caswell, I heard you make mention about this a few minutes ago, train up a child. I had to be in Sunday school every Sunday evening at 3 o'clock. Do y'all remember that? When we were attending Anglican churches, our parents sent us to Sunday school 3 o'clock every single evening. Today we have parents letting children decide whether they are going to go to church or not, and decide what they're going to watch. And to me, it has a beginning process at home. And so if we're going to talk about our culture impacting parliament, we have to start paying attention to our customs, our arts, our social institutions, and our achievements. I think it is important. I mean, we have now had several women very highly involved in politics in Barbados. You remember there was a time there was hardly a woman sitting in the parliamentary seats. Today we have a woman who's the president of our country, a woman who's the prime minister of our country. And these are things that, as we grew up, our parents inspired us to reach for the clouds and achieve them because of all the things that we had been taught in our society. So, yeah, I think we need to get back to what is genuinely our culture. What I am seeing on the street on a what you call it morning, whatever whatever morning you call it, doesn't represent our
4 day morning.
yeah, it doesn't represent our arts. Look at all of the children who used to do all those great dance and great music and acting and everything that we used to have in the Frank Kalama Hall for years, and you couldn't get in there for those events that were hosted. I don't know what has happened to them. I don't even know if they had anything this year.
Yeah.
Let me tell you also,
Yes.
Missy.
Yeah, this is the last comment on this, and then we have to move to the next topic. Go ahead.
This is carnival by another name.
Exactly. Yes.
Carnival. I see. We didn't have carnival in Barbados, and we didn't want to call it carnival to compete with Trinidad. But the carnival that we know it came out of a Catholic tradition. Where just before Lent, the period before Lent, you let out your demons. No, but we have a system now where you let out your demons every month, not only Lent now, because we didn't even understand. We don't understand, or we don't care that it was where the Catholics, they want to let out the demons and then they can live pious lives for the Lenten period. This is all about. That's why you see Trinidad Carnival finishes whatever Ash Wednesday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it has a religious thing about it. This ain't got the religious thing in it. This is just walking up nastiness, foolishness in the streets, and it has nothing to do with our culture. It has people call our culture, our culture, our culture, our culture. When did it become part of our culture? When this and I told you earlier, it started in 1974. I was a little boy then. And thankfully, I'll tell you, I've never participated in any of them to this day because I see it as decadence. And I will continue to see it so because I do not allow people to think for me. Our people have surrendered their minds to the politicians, and the politicians are warping them and putting them back out there to become more and more decadent as we go on. Freddie, you were talking about integrity earlier, you know?
Before you go on, you know that you said so, Caswell, it reminds me of something that I read in a history book a while ago, that the planters used to feed the slaves with a lot of rum, like around the Christmas holidays, and they used to behave horribly and get drunk and be vomiting and things like that. And the next morning when they awoke, they were so ashamed of themselves that all they could do was run off and go to the fields and work. It's the same thing that is happening now. The very same thing.
Same mentality, same prison,
Yep.
same colonial mind.
Yeah.
No, but you see, the thing is, but this time the slave masters are like us, they're black people.
Yes.
They have adopted, because since they have become the power, they now decide, well, we will use power the only way we know how. The way we have been taught by the slave masters, because they have now become the slave masters.
They are.
You see, I am sorry for this country. We don't have a God. We don't have anything. No, we just have politicians, and people worship them.
Yeah.
If
you look on the screen, I said it was the last thing, but I just want you to look at the screen, and this is going on. This is on social media, and I guess this is
Barbados, is it?
It is.
It is. It's 4 morning.
Oh Jesus!
4 morning. I bet she's a tourist.
This is 4 morning. So is this you know, I mean, she's an adult, so I'm not, you know, people are adults are whatever. I'm asking though, my question here, is this what we are promoting then as tourism? Is this what we want to work? Because this is all over. This is all over.
That's going through my mind. I mean, imagine that this is the picture. I'm embarrassed. I mean, I would be embarrassed to go anywhere and say that I'm a Barbadian with the world seeing this kind of imagery, because this is how they're going to determine who we are, what we function like. This is the imagery they see. And earlier you were talking about this matter, Caswell. I wrote down the word desensitization. Hollywood is a master at it. And what has happened is that over the years, politicians have been contributing to the desensitization of people to things that are abhorrent. And this is the problem that we have. And I must say that I agree with you wholeheartedly when you talk about, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to think that some of the people that I know in Parliament that I would think are supposed to be moral, God-fearing, godly people don't have the intestinal fortitude to open their mouth and stand up against things. And that is regrettable. Yeah. That is unfortunate.
And that this is what is being promoted as, you know, sad. As, you know, tourism. Now we must say though, before the last comment, this is actually the last comment, that there are some good events in CROPOVER. There, yes. That, you know, you have that, for example, the pick of the crop. You do have some very good songs that are well arranged in there. Some of the soca, well, I don't think they had the soca competition this year. That was pushed out because of the new holiday that was instituted, CARICOM Day. But good if you're into, you know, good music, well arranged, and so on. You do have some. But there are some events, I believe that, you know, the state really needs to take a look at some of those events. And I believe that adults who are abusing children, the state, because it's their event, the state should be held accountable.
Yes, I agree with that.
The state should be held accountable. And the state should not, this is something that the authorities, they should probe to the very end until they hold people accountable and liable for child abuse and sexual abuse and pedophilia. That's just my belief. And the very last thing I will say about that. Thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand. His Excellency, Reverend Dr. Ferdinand. Thank you for coming on, for being on the program tonight. Thank you.
Is Ferdinand leaving?
I am leaving, but I'm going to be here.
Oh, okay. I want to put out an appeal to encourage the church and its members, as many of them as you can get, to sign the petition. It is for future Barbadians. So
Which
please,
petition is that? The petition to do with the NIS?
yes.
It's being signed by a lot of us. Trust me, a lot of us.
Right.
I've spoken to a number of people. I myself have signed 2 petitions actually, with regards to it, because it has an impact upon us. It has an impact upon our generations to come. I'm sure Caswell and Lynette will share even more on that. But yes, and I do have upcoming meetings with other ministers that we'll be discussing what our responses are going to be like in terms of these national issues that we're facing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and God bless. God bless. I know you'll be around, but thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes. Now, guys, we haven't seen Lynette on, and we're supposed to have someone from Savvy to be on, and we're waiting on this person to come on, but we can still discuss it for a few minutes. You know, I read with intrigue this letter that is being sent around on social media, and had to do a little research myself on what is happening there with Mr. Kinch on Bay Street. And it seemed to me that you know, there's some similarities with it, with the Miss Ram situation. And I know that when Miss Ram was going through her ordeal, and she still is, she's still never have not been paid 1 red cent by the government. I spoke to her only a couple of days ago for her property. You know, a lot of people laughed at her because some, you know, people have their different views about Miss Ram, and they did not see the injustice of it, Heather, of what was being done to Miss Ram. But I want to ask. I know, Heather, you have been seeing what is going around. Can you just, in your own words, can you summarize what you think is happening to Mr. Kinch?
I think it is just a similar situation as what happened to Miss Ram, that a private developer has his eyes, or have their eyes on that property, and is using the government to get it the same way as was used to get Miss Ram's property. Same situation. We just have to give it some time and see it play out. But to me, it's the very same thing. However, many more people will be impacted. I wish that people had taken the side of Miss Ram. They saw her, it was an injustice, as you said just now. They saw her as this employer who mistreated people, and they went down that road, but they never opened their minds to see the ramifications or the effect that this would have, that if you allow the government to get away with this situation, yes, they will come back and do it again. And that is exactly what they are doing now. However, more people than one person will be impacted this time around, because it was told that, and I read that there are many small entrepreneurs who work in that establishment called Savvy on the Bay, and their livelihood is under threat if government carries through with this taking away of the land. And I saw a video clip, I think it was on a short video that Savvy on the Bay is running, and it has the Attorney General speaking, and he said that the land will be put to use for all Barbadians, which makes absolutely no sense, because before it was not being utilized. And why would the government take someone's land to put it in a car park when right now it is a productive enterprise? It doesn't make any sense. And technically, on a broader basis, why this doesn't make sense is in the development plans for that area. I am not aware that this was identified. I'm not sure about that, but I'm not aware that it was. And even if it was, they changed the plans for the Hyatt to include Miss Ram. and the Hyatt belongs to a private entity, I see no reason why, if they had plans for this area, why it could not be changed and be for economic enterprise for Barbadians instead of being a car park. And it was there left to ruin with all kinds of garbage and so on it. And the government didn't have a concern then. But now that somebody possibly wants it, it's a big thing. They want to take it away. And under no circumstances do I believe that it should happen. I think the people should stay their ground and do whatever possible that they can to prevent this from happening. So if it happens, this will be the second time it happens, and it means that we would have emboldened them for it to happen again, so they can go around the country willy-nilly, collecting people's land to do things with, to give to their friends and family and whatever. And to me, it doesn't set a good precedent at all. So the people must stand up and be in solidarity with Mr. Kinch and all of the other small entrepreneurial people who work in that establishment. We have to make Barbados work for the people, not the government. The government is not a person.
But I just want to say something here before Mr. Franklyn jumps in, and I'm eager to hear what he has to say. I was told by another businessman that that there are quite a number of employees in that establishment. I was told that it's over 100 employees there, plus quite a number of businesses. So it's not just Mr. Kinch that is going to, be at a disadvantage, but it's all the employees and all the small businesses that are inside that operation. Someone is asking, has a question for you, Mr. I just want to find the question. I can't find it. Somebody wanted to know who vested the property in the BTI in the first place. Who vested the property to the BTI? And they want to say in the first place.
Let me start by responding to something that Heather said. She said what the Attorney General said made absolutely no sense. Heather, I'm surprised at you. When have you ever heard the Attorney General say? You expecting.
Oh my God.
But you expected, there. But seriously, I'm serious about that though, but seriously, even more seriously, I was the only member of Parliament who opposed taking away Ms. Ram's property. And I said, if you do it to Ms. Ram, you can do it to other people. I was vilified. People saw me on the street and tell me off for standing up for Ms. Ram. I said I was not standing up for Ms. Ram. I was standing up for justice, because there was no justice in this. You know what I tell you? So, since Ms. Ram, you went to St. Lawrence Gap and you want to take away people's property for the same developer. And now you come to Mr. King. So government has a way of bad behavior. You have the right to take any property for public purposes.
Correct.
So how is a private developer building something to make money for himself and his investors a public purpose? That is something that should be left to the market. If the Hyatt wanted to buy Ms. Ram's property, they should approach Ms. Ram. And if she said, well, my property is for $40 million. Man, we can't pay that. Let them negotiate. No, instead, they have connections with politicians, so they can go to the politicians and say, look, we only want to pay $20 million, Ms. Ram won't take it. They want you to take it for us. That is corruption. That is corruption. It has nothing to do with the public purpose. Public purposes, hospital, clinic, roads, you name it, things like that, housing, yeah, but not for a private developer. Now, let me start with Mr. Kinch. Since that property was abandoned years ago, paroles, all manner of people that destroyed the place, They even had to take out the windows and bar it up with cement blocks because pirates were living in it. Mr. Kinch approached the government about buying it. The government said to him, you have to give us a plan for this property. What are you going to do with it before we sell it to you? He submitted all of that, all those things. So the government knew from way back in 2015 what Mr. Kinch wanted to do with that property. He put in all, so when you see the guy who was pretending to be chief town planner come up there making statements, he's only telling half the truth. So when you read in newspapers, you say, tell Mr. Leach, my buddy from school, that what he is saying is the political version to sanitize what the government is doing to Mr. Kinch. It is not the whole truth and nothing but. Mr. Kinch bought the property, well, started the purchasing process under the Democratic Party administration. In 2015, and it took all the way down to 2019 under this administration. So if they wanted the property, they can say, look, sorry, we in our development plan, because you don't develop, you don't come in a plan for something like this overnight. So they will have their manifesto, they'll do all kind of stuff, they will put it in it. And they completed the sale to Mr. Kinch for him to go ahead and do what he proposed to do all those years ago. So they knew. But I believe with all my heart that this is another Miss Ram situation. Somebody is eyeing that property, because I remember Ross University wanted it on stage to build their school instead of Sherburne, and also they wanted probably over the other side of the road. But the problem now, the flying ointment in Mr. Kinch, you gotta get him out. Ross Dow said that we're not interested, but they got somebody that might be more interested. We don't know who that person is yet. And certainly, government cannot come up here and say to me with a straight face, oh, we want it for a car park. No, they want to take advantage of Mr. Kinch because Mr. Kinch is a lowly businessman who doesn't, as far as I know, and I've been around the place, I've never known or heard of him being in politics or anything. So I don't know if you got any political friends, and that's probably why if you had one of those, we haven't done now. This is corruption. This is the state abusing a businessman, taking away his property to give to somebody else. I understand that the government said that they want him out, I think, by March, April, or whatever it is. He said, but I got a lease for my the people who rent from me, operate businesses there. And the government said, we don't want them out, we want you. So they will take over those people as their tenants.
Wow.
Yeah, the government going to take over these people as tenants and to force Mr. Kinch out of business. Now, if you know the area down there, Mr. Kinch has a plan, in-town plan and everything else for this whole property. If the government take up the land that they want, it will destroy his concept. It wouldn't be worth the paper it's written on anymore, because what they will be doing to him now is asking him, his entrance will be at the traffic lights. You know, you don't have an entrance at the traffic light there. You know, he'll be going into his property right in the middle of the traffic lights. So that doesn't make sense, but they want to take over the piece. They're actually trying to destroy this man. For whatever reason, I don't know, because we've seen in Barbados where a politician did not get campaign contributions from a businessman in Barbados, and they attacked the business, almost trying to put it out of business because they didn't get campaign contributions. I don't know if Mr. Kinch contributed anybody campaign or not. I don't know, but if he did, he wouldn't have this problem now. This country needs integrity. It needs people of integrity, and it needs politicians who will stand up and be truthful